say we have I understand that you don't use money or snow to do
down last night.
What about Mother Nature? That's right. That's right. You get pushed into the right. Because it's stupid. You know they say we're broke. We're going to go. That's like you come back here and say, there's your 40 billion. We got snow bucket guys. We're good. Okay, here's your budget. I look at it and say, this is like almost later. I'm like, you see that little round thing? I'm already in the negative. What am I supposed to do with that? What does that mean? So I'm just like, here, you keep the paper. Guys want something? You go buy it. We'll run the book. I don't care if that's on the side. The maintenance is gone. Yep. Because we're already negative. Let's go back to playing cards. Oh, I didn't say that. Okay, that's all she does anyway.
I was just thinking, not fill it.
So that's what we resort to. That's what we resort to.
Whatever they do in general, yeah. Now, somebody will pick up the work.
Yeah, that's why if you notice fiscal year, all these openings start popping back up, you know. But then after doing this, we're doing this, and there's more duty.
Yeah, when we volunteered at the construction and I just kept it from little and took it all. Give Lizzie back.
Yeah, I love it every spring. It's like labor intensive. Then
So you need to bring all employees advisory council that they want that stuff on it, like the policy thing, like they'll make changes to this, people are going to use it.
there's a whole labor intensive thing, you know, from June 1st.
Welcome everyone to the afternoon session. Our first presenters are from the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission talking about digital delivery and advancing infrastructure design, and they're going to introduce themselves. So I'm going to let them get started.
Good afternoon. First session right after lunch, so it's a good one. I'm Butch Loncar. I'm with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. Been with them for 38 years, doing various things, most of that time in the engineering department. I'm currently working with my colleagues in our digital delivery program, which is a little bit more than just digital delivery, but I'll get into some of it. I want to let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Mark Anderson. I've been with the Turnpike now for about 12 years. Before that, I was with an engineering consultant for about 20. So, been in the business a long time, involved in design. mostly in survey agency. I'm a professional land surveyor in Pennsylvania. So my role, I've been in digital delivery here at the Turnpike for a couple of years now. I know Butch and Stephanie over here have been in it for a long time, so I'm going to get Stephanie to let me introduce herself.
Yeah, my name's Stephanie Rendash. I'm with Symmetry Consulting with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, and basically been helping out for the past 5 years with our overall goal with approaching digital delivery, which we're really excited to share with you all today.
Okay, our agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about introduce, who we are at the Turnpike Commission. We'll talk about why digital delivery, our approach to digital delivery, and then our initial pilot projects and then our next steps. All right, about the Turnpike Commission. Okay, this slide here, this represents an effort that was initiated by our CEO to put together our mission, vision statement, and our core values. What are we about? How do we want to move forward? And what he terms reimagine the Turnpike, which are all of our processes. What can we do to do our job better, be more efficient, provide a better service, be safer, and provide a better road for our customers that are paying tolls across our system. Okay, the Turnpike, actually we just turned 83 years old this past October 1st, and basically, initially in 1940 when we opened up, that first year we had 2.4 million vehicles. Just last year, 210 million vehicles traversed our system. Traffic's composed of basically 86% passenger vehicles, 14% commercial. Okay, the original 1940 section of the Turnpike really extended only 160 miles from Berlin, PA to Carlisle, PA. Today, the Turnpike consists of 563 miles divided into 7 routes, a main east-west route across from Ohio to Jersey, and then extensions in the west and in the northeast extreme. We have 877 bridges, of which only 16 are deficient, and they are all in design and construction. I crossed that out for a second. Okay, there are 23 maintenance sheds, which is about 125 pounds plus 5 sheds that are each of our 5 tunnels. And speaking of the tunnels, we originally had 8, but in the late 1960s, 3 of those were bypassed and then basically sold off. Okay, the types of projects that we're engaged in are total reconstruction. This is total reconstruction of the original section of the Turnpike as constructed in the 1940s and 1950s. And that's from the mud up, and a lot of that is widened from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. 150 miles have been reconstructed so far, with another 60 to be completed in the next decade, and that cost us so far has been approximately $3.5 billion. Expansion projects, which include our extensions in western PA to provide interstate travel through south of Pittsburgh and then connecting with the Beltway around Pittsburgh. We have open road tolling since we no longer have toll collectors. We are decommissioning our toll plazas and going to mainline gantries, and tolls are going to be collected being collected via Easy Pass and Toll White Plate. Okay, we have a fiber optic project where we're installing fiber along our entire system. We've completed from Harrisburg, which is the center of the state, to the Delaware River by Philly, and then we're going on the northeast extension of the Scranton, and then the second phase of that will be from Harrisburg and out to the west of Ohio on the western extension. And the goal of this is to be able to facilitate the transfer of data from our toll collecting gantries, and also to facilitate data back and forth from our maintenance sheds, from our service plazas. Plus, we're also commercializing part of that to generate revenue for the commission. We have facilities reconstruction. A lot of our maintenance sheds were built in the 1940s, and a lot of them need to be brought up to modern standards for safety, but also for environmental purposes. We have our bridge replacements. We're replacing older structures with smaller bridges being replaced via accelerated construction, which has worked out very well. Okay, why digital delivery? The project life cycle, or more accurately, the asset life cycle, is what's important to us. We have capital planning based on available dollars, and we have to assign those dollars based on need. Then we go into project planning, design, construction, collecting as-built data until the project flows out, feeding that information into, at this point, a theoretical digital twin, and then provide that information for operations and maintenance, for asset management, and feeding back that information into capital planning. But from everything I've seen the last few days, that this is a more daunting task than originally anticipated, but I'm looking forward to it, at least for the next year or so before I retire, and to help them lay a lot of this foundation, and then Mark will work for the next 20 years. Okay. Using 3D intelligent models as a primary source of document will facilitate reductions in project errors. Convey a clear design intent, provide greater accuracies, improve collaboration, provide more in-depth asset management, and other benefits that we see. Okay. To the PTC, digital delivery means rethinking of not just our design and construction processes. A presentation. I love technology. Still, despite all the technical glitches, this is better than using a Xerox 8086 with 2 5/4 floppy drives to get your work done. I'm not going to bring that up. Okay, this is supposed to be a nice video. I told you it's IT security messing up. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
This is why they keep me around, just so you guys know.
Okay. To the Commission, digital delivery means rethinking our process, from design through construction, but also how we can improve our workflows to streamline our data so that our maintenance and operations groups can consume that data and be able to execute their job in a more efficient and basically affect the whole enterprise. All right, what you see here, our digital delivery program consists of, initially, our engineering technology plan, basically a strategic program. We met with all, I think, 13 out of 14 partners at the time, and approximately 80 people over like 20 meetings to get feedback from them, find out what their pain points were, and to let them know what we were looking to accomplish and what they needed from us to help them facilitate their job. And that ended up producing what we call an engineering technology plan. But it's not a static document. We're actually getting ready to revise it again, especially for what a lot of people here this week, and take it back to our leadership and try to explain what we learned here to them, and then revise that, and then make adjustments in how we move forward. The other effort, that third pillar, was we developed our project information and modeling standards and CAD standard. And we issued this out on our jobs and our pilot projects. And it's an ever-evolving document that as we go through our projects to the consultants told us that these standards are taking that information back and then we're modifying our standards as needed and keep moving forward. This is a cyclical process. And then there's our pilot projects, which Mark will talk about here. So, give it to Mark.
Thanks, Butch. So I'll talk about our approach to digital delivery a little bit. So basically starting off here, we wanted to look for different types of projects. We to start with low risk, so we operate a limited access highway. And when you operate a limited access highway, finding small low risk project that's kind of difficult. So what we look to start with is mainline reprofiling, things like that, to improve ride or correct drainage issues. Things like emergency access ramps or less challenging bridge projects. So when I say less challenging bridge projects to our bridge engineers, they get a little upset about that. But we tried to pick a couple that were on tangents, vertical tangents, things like that really wouldn't cause too much problems and not be too difficult to model. We did have a little bit of a setback. We had an emergency access ramp project started about 2 years ago. We were up to 60% design. Some administrative issues hit, and we ended up having to delay that project. So it kind of set us back 2 years. We would have had that constructed by now, so we'd have been well ahead of where we are now. But fortunately, we were able to pick up another project, and Stephanie will talk about the details of some of those later. But we were able to pick up a few more and keep that going. CAD agnostic, so our standards are available in Autodesk and Unmanned products. And I'll start by saying we don't do any in-house design at the time. So right now our engineers are just project managers, and we have consultants do all of our work. So we don't really have a lot to maintain and train from that perspective, so it's a little bit easier for us than some of the PennDOT districts to be able to keep two platforms going and keep their staff trained. So that's something that's a little bit easier. We'll just keep the standards up to date. And our next standard release will be Autodesk 2024 and ORD 2022 R3. And I think we'll be releasing those within a couple of weeks. They have been submitted, we just haven't gone through final QC yet. Phase 1 projects include 2 in each platform. So we're kind of fortunate there. We have designers who are willing to do these projects in a couple different platforms. So that's good for us too. It also gives us opportunities to investigate and pilot different CVEs. So we're looking at different model viewers, things like that, to be able to investigate and see which platforms work better with other CVEs, things like that. Hybrid deliverables. So immediate future, everything is going to be a hybrid deliverable for us for the time being. So we have traditional cut sheets and electronic files included in those deliverables. The cut sheets for the time being include title sheets, general notes, index, typical sections, things like that. So we're going to keep going that route. We do have one of our projects we're going to be eliminating cross sections, and we're going to go to electronic files instead of cut sheets for tabs and summaries. So that's going to be kind of interesting too. We've worked with our contracting management department a good bit on that, so we're excited about that one. And we also are going to have model files within HEEP most of our projects. So CAD agnostic. Some of the benefits. It gives designers a chance to play with their strengths. And that's one reason we wanted to go that way. We definitely want designers to be able to use the products that they're familiar with and be able to go to their dependencies and let them use whatever they want to. It prioritizes data over software. So that's definitely another reason to be agnostic. And it doesn't limit by the one platform. So it's nice to have options, obviously. Challenges, I did mention before, managing the multiple standards can be a little bit of a challenge, and it takes a little bit more effort in order to do that. Various tools, common data environments, things like that, so we know that Bentley products don't necessarily work well with Autodesk products if you're going to ACC and vice versa. It's not always easy to do that. I think we're hoping in the future that IHEEP will solve some of those issues. And then software advancements are not one. So one product may be a little bit better than the other one in some categories, other ones, the other one may come up and be ahead. Next. So this is how we bid our project. So we have a proprietary EBS system, and it's open to registered business partners only. So you have to basically register to be on, and then the Turnpike approves it, and then you can basically get into it and bid files, see plans, specs, things like that, so that they're advertised. News releases, we have, for our digital delivery projects, we have started news releases for those. So 2 to 3 months before the project will be advertised, we actually put a news release out saying that this is the type of project it's going to be. It will have this type of deliverable, which is the hybrid. We'll kind of go through the sheets that would be included in the hybrid portion of it, and then we'll let them know what type of software would be delivered in. That's something we'll be doing for the first couple. The advertisements then include all the contract documents, so you'll have plans, specifications, and addendums go up there if there are addendums, and then RFIs. So contractors can send RFIs in and we can answer them through this system. And then obviously construction bids, they come from the same system. How are the electronic files included in the bid package? So when we started this process with our first project, it took a lot of coordination with our legal department. So we've added some special provisions and modified a few special provisions with specific specs. It outlines, we have one that outlines the type of software version, model files that were created for the project. And then we've done some other ones that allow us to seal electronic plans as if they were hard copy plans. So it's basically electronic files are the same as plans in the set. And we also, the way we seal and sign these things, we have the designer actually seal and sign a paper title sheet, and that, with our legal department's blessing, that actually seals the electronic files that we're using. We always include this list of electronic files identified as plans in the contract documents, so it's included in the general note sheet and in the special provisions. And you can see in front of you, I don't know if that's too blurry to read, but this one has hash values. I'm going to go into the next few slides. Start with the date and timestamp there, but I'll get into a little bit more detail of that in the next few slides. And all of these files can be downloaded through our ODS. Okay, so I mentioned the date and timestamp. So we advertised that first project. The team quickly realized that a date and timestamp is not a good idea when you're dealing with electronic files. So the way it works, our designer sends the files to us, one form or another. They upload to our SharePoint or whatever they do. And then our construction management department uploads them to the DS. So each time those change file directories, that date and timestamp changes. So realizing that that was an issue very early, we decided to go to a different method. And that's kind of explained here on this next sheet. So we started using hashes for the next project that's going on. The project we started on is advertised. So it's basically a signature that identifies some amount of data, usually a file message. And this is not new technology at all. These algorithms were first developed in 1958, so it's definitely technology that's been around for a long time. And this hash that you can see the value is in this electronic files. It's a 32-character alphanumeric. It's an alphanumeric character that basically changes anytime something changes in that file. So if someone goes in and changes the line by, thousandth of a foot, that hash will change in that file if it's saved. So it basically gives the contractor, in our opinions, it gives the contractor some confidence that what the designer delivered is also what they're looking at. I actually looked up some stats on this, and I think it's like 1.47 times 10 to the negative 29th, chance that this hash can be repeated in a file. So it's like get struck by lightning several times, I'm sure. So what could we be including in these model files? So what you're seeing here is part of the project that we just advertised a few weeks ago, I guess maybe a month ago. It's a diaphragm from a bridge. You see on the left is a transparent view, shows rebar, and then in the center is what we're using as annotated views. And I'll show a little bit more on that slide. I'll go into a little more detail on that with the video. And then next is the property data. So these model files contain all of this data. They contain the model files, some annotated views that the designer felt were important, and then you can click on an item and see the property data as well. So this is the video I mentioned. This is actually a peer for the project. So this is the peer model. You can see if you click on the rebar there, you get some data on the rebar. Basically tells you what it is, size of it, length, things like that. And once you open them, you can see the 2D views. Those are the annotated views I mentioned earlier. These are views that the designer felt were important to the project. I will point out that all of this information comes directly from the model. So this isn't something that the designer uses and annotates. It's actually data that's in the model, extracted from the model directly. So it's not that we're depending on a designer to type something in here. This is all information that we know at least what's in the model itself. A little bit more on the right there, you can see you can turn layers off. It's similar to being in my CAD software. You can't really do anything in it, like you can pretty much see everything that's in the drawing. You have layer control and things like that as well. Okay, next, additional files. So we're looking at multiple options. We really don't know exactly the way the industry is going to go right now. We don't know exactly what contractors need. So the first project that we advertised and did had XML files in it. And I did mention that Stephanie's going to be going into more detail with the projects themselves. We did provide one IFC file as a pre-bid with our bridge project. And then on the left there's a federated model. That's something that we may or may not include with the package itself. The last project we advertised was components, basically. So it's all the components, and we provide that list, with the hash to each item to confirm that nothing changes. So we're still investigating the file types. Bottom line. Next, I believe I'm turning it over to Stephanie to go through our digital delivery projects in detail.
So our first phase of our digital delivery projects, we start with 4 different types of projects. So as Mark was stating earlier, we want to start with low risk, but also look at the different disciplines. As you can tell, the Turnpike Commission does a wide variety of different types of projects. So starting off, we started with a resurfacing project, and right now we're going to go in order of the advertisement or bid date for each project. So that resurfacing project was about a 4-mile span. And it had a very small, about a 400-foot section of reprofiling that was needed. So that reprofiled section is what was bid as our electronic file, as the legal document, model as the legal document for that project. All of these projects are some type of hybrid deliverable, so there is an abbreviated plan set that typically includes our PDF contract documents, general notes, things like that, as well as a list of those electronic files. Our next project is A83 Bridge Replacement Project, and this project encountered a lot of firsts as we were advertising the full structure as a legal document, and we'll get more into details for that. This project is also a little unique too. It's a Turnpike bridge project, so it's carrying a state road, which means that the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission is responsible for design and construction of that bridge project. However, we do need to get PennDOT approval because the bridge will actually be turned back over to PennDOT once it's constructed. And then we also have a maintenance facility project as well as an access roads project, which I'll get more into detail on the next coming slides. So the first project, T180 and 184, so there was 2 things being tested here. The hybrid deliverable actually included a single project PDF, full-length project PDF of the roadway plan, and then we had that reprofile section as the legal document. With the single project PDF, it also included legends and colors to easily depict the roadway aspects. So it will identify where median and shoulder mill and pave was compared to the lanes themselves, as well as an additional couple of items, reprofiling section, rock lining, and so forth. This feedback we got from the contractor for this specific item was overall enthusiastic. They said this is such a game changer to actually have colors involved and be a little bit more intuitive to see what is happening where very quickly with the project. We can go to the next slide. And then we get to our electronic files. So there was actually 11 electronic files included with this. We started with just 1 DGM file. So this project was completed in Open Roads Designer. That was for the reprofiling section, which we'll see a little bit more in depth. We also had 10 land XML files, so this was for the surfaces of the various pavement layers for the right shoulder, different lanes, looking at subbase, and so forth, with the idea and hope that the contractor would be using those XMLs a part of their AMG or for whatever purpose that they may need as well. This also includes some as-built special provisions, specifically for the median barrier guide rail, a couple of special grading areas. And this is kind of looking in the future more, getting that as-built data back. The survey methods were open. We just want to see what we would receive from the contractor, and that way we can actually take that data and see where we want to go next with this model overall. So we can go ahead and see this video. This is within the Open Roads Designer of that reprofile section. So we just need to hit the space bar to play it perfect. Nothing fancy or to be blown away by. I will save that for the coming videos. But I just want to show that it was a simple project, low risk, and this is really, truly just getting our feet wet with digital delivery. A lot of the aspects for the front end actually involve talking to legal and construction on how these projects can actually be included as a legal document. So we wanted to safeguard and do a small section of the roadway itself. So it's only 400 feet, resurfacing project. You can click on the different pavement layers. It will pull up the property information, which you can see in the common data environments for the cubic feet of volumes, as well as the type of material that was used. So really low-risk project, and construction actually just completed the westbound side of this for resurfacing through that profile. And there hasn't been any alarms yet, so that's a good side. But we still have to do the eastbound side, which is happening over the next 2 months. And then this next project is our 83, our bridge replacement project along the northeast extension. So this project had a lot of firsts. It was our first project using the hash codes as our data verification. And the real big reason for that data verification is we actually don't want to lock down the model files. We want the contractor or whoever's receiving this to be able to interrogate the data and get that information. So this was a way we can verify that data. The second aspect was actually getting PennDOT's approval for the bridge. So having some type of interagency collaboration. PennDOT was using Bentley Synchro to actually view the model. Meanwhile, we were using BIM 360 for our common data environment and reviews. We actually sent the Revit model of the structure and then used IFC for the rebar for them to conduct the reviews. So this is probably one of the biggest groundbreaking CAD-agnostic approaches, but it is possible, and we're slowly getting there further. So as you can see, this was our third big first, was actually having a pre-bid meeting. So this is looking at all this docs, and you can actually see all the files that were bid as the electronic model, as the legal document. So each individual file is the legal document that is listed out a part of the contract, and then the federated model is for information only, bringing all of that information together. As mentioned before, the power of the tools is really going to be when you actually open up the data and then noting that there's actually more information included within it. So you can actually see where there's rebar located, interrogate the data, but also look at the different views. And views was something that's actually a huge aspect of this, and something that we want to get more feedback and information on from the contractor. And the reason being is, as much as I would have loved to be like, here's the model, good luck, and walk away, we don't have to add any other type of information. It's very unrealistic being a contractor in the field, or even PTC's inspection staff, to open up a model and actually measure on an iPad or get elevation points that they need. So the designer went through and created annotated views, rebar schedules, stuff that they might need quick access to that we thought would be the most important for construction. So overall, something that we're looking forward to getting feedback is seeing, is this too much information, or do you actually need more to start hitting the ground running through the construction phase? So we took this project from Autodesk Revit, brought the final design into InfoWorks, and then actually used Twinmotion to show what the project looks like on site, completely built and constructed. And I think this is a big aspect of overall what digital delivery can actually improve on as well. It's also not just for stakeholders within your organization as an owner of communication on the files, but even with communities. All of Turnpike Commission's larger projects have their own website for each individual project, and this is where we can actually showcase this is what's going to be happening in this area and so forth. So 83, that project, that bid date's October 20th. have very high hopes. I'm very anxious, but very excited, and it seems so far things are on the right path. So that project hopefully will be back next year to present on how the construction phase is going with that as well. Our next project is going over to a facility project. So this is New Cumberland Maintenance Facility. This is being constructed on the Pennsylvania Turnpike main line, and it's using Autodesk Revit as well as Civil 3D. So the Civil 3D parking lot surface areas are all being what's included. Right now we're actually looking at Navisworks, so this is bringing all of those components together. Each individual building is in its own Revit file, and then the Civil 3D grading as well. So bring it all into one place so that we have that full picture of the federated model itself. On the building side, digital delivery or BIM models in general have been very established as far as national standards go for probably more than a decade. So this was nothing too groundbreaking when it actually came to the facility aspect of it, but what we're aiming to do to take this a step further is actually use different types of as-built information to capture this data. So right now we're discussing different types of special provisions that could be included so that we can actually do a potential scan to BIM effort or use different types of LiDAR scanning to get the full picture overall. And then once again, we also took this project into InfraWorks because why not make it pretty and beautiful and like the most impressive facility project that we see along a Turnpike Commission's mainline highway. So this is once again taking that power of the information, seeing how things look geolocated, and then taking it a step further for that community outreach. Something also with this as well is that this project is right now just at about 90% completion. So we're looking at sometime next year for the design to be finalized and then also putting it up for bid as well. Yeah, and we were just having a lot of fun with the different Zoom capabilities, as you can see. And then our next project is going back over to Bentley. So now we're looking at Open Roads Designer. And this is for access roads along the main line itself. So access roads pose as a low-risk type of project. We weren't going to start with a total reconstruction project like previously. We want to see the different components of the highway itself. So we hit spacebar. Yes, awesome. So we're going to go a little bit more into the design. So this right now is completing around 75% as far as the design goes. So it's looking at a bid date into sometime next year overall. But you can see with Open Roads Design, we have our access roads on the eastbound and westbound side of the highway, and then there's also some drainage structures being included here. So this project's also delving into a little bit on how do we use stormwater management devices. So we have a treatment train system as well as a rain garden, and bring that into the BIM deliverable. Is it just grading? What information do we want to include as far as the drainage structures go, and so forth. And this is something that I think is going to be overall powerful with BIM itself within the transportation sector. Specifically when it comes to drainage items, there's a lot of data already included, and how that information can be shown in a model file is a lot more simpler, intuitive. You can click on the structure, pull up that property data than traditional plan sets and cut sheets. So with this project as well, there will also be special provisions involved to collect digital as-built information, especially since we're dealing with stormwater devices and how we want to actually scan or capture that data. So we're having conversations on what that as-built procedure is going to look like as well. All right, so that was phase one. So what's next? If anyone was here on Monday for the FHWA presentation with how BIM is being included, they actually showed a timeline how they recommend for DOTs to adopt BIM overall into their projects. And they said you have to crawl before you walk, walk before you run, and then hopefully ultimately fly. Coincidentally, that crawl phase they had on there was a 2-year process. We're about approaching 2 years now with the start of these initial projects, so we're actually completing our crawl phase. So those phase 1 projects we're just completing. We're now going towards walking. And also coincidentally, they said at the walking phase, you need to try larger projects and bigger items, more LOD, increasing that level of detail or development. So where we're headed next is larger projects. The Turnpike Commission, they have huge projects. It's not just standard roadway, it is heavy construction projects. So that is where we're headed next. We're also looking at more modeled elements. I think one of the lessons learned is that the information within the model is so valuable. I know information is being pushed a lot throughout this conference, but we're finding what information specifically needs to be included for construction and what needs to be included for asset management purposes. So that's looking at increasing the LOD overall, that level of detail within each of those elements. And something that we're looking at is also making sure how we can bring that data into GIS. And then the last, as great as the design phases and construction may go, if the project completely changes and we have no type of as-built procedure or way to update that data, then these models start to become lower quality with the information. So we're investigating more on the as-built end and what that's going to look like as far as final deliverables to potentially update these models, or what does that digital twin actually look like. So for phase 2, these are right now the currently slated projects. The first being the Delaware River Bridge project. So this is a bridge that is being replaced that connects New Jersey to Pennsylvania. It's going to involve New Jersey Turnpike as well as the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. And it is a very large bridge and structure. So that is something that's already having early conversations on. And the primary reason why this project got added to the list is we know the design phase is going to be long. We know construction is also going to be part of that longevity aspect. So we know digital delivery, as things are getting progressed, it's going to impact this project. So we need to start having a conversation today so that the designers know what they're in for. Not what they're in for, but what to expect as we're going forward. The next is an Allegheny Mountain realignment project. So this is actually a bypass of a 2-lane tunnel that is over a mile long. So this is also going to include a structure to go around the mountain of Allegheny. And this project is also a little unique because it has a proposed land terrestrial bridge included in the project, which will be the first in Pennsylvania. So how do we show a land terrestrial bridge within our model labs? This is going to be a very fun opportunity to also add some vegetation and different components like that. We have a brand new interchange being added to the main line, as well as a total reconstruction project, and all of these projects are also slated to use different software, so from Autodesk to Bentley, and probably having some type of IFC component, because we know that's where the technology is headed with open standards. Next is asset management integration. So developing workflows to extract the data from the models to the asset management programs. So we've already completed this for the alignments and travelways, specifically for PTC's linear referencing system. So that data is currently extracted out from our model files and brought into their LRS system overall. What we're looking at next is actually some of the larger BIM elements, such as corridors, specifically to their pavement asset management system, their PAM system, and then their pipe networks to their stormwater asset management program, SWAMP. I have to give a lot of credit whoever comes up with the acronyms. They really think about this through and through. I will say overall with asset management, as we've already begun the effort since we have our standards developed on how to extract the data out of the corridors as well as the pipe networks and different drainage facilities. But something that I want to push the envelope a little bit more is actually see how we can start streamlining this information further. So a lot of this talk today or throughout the conference is about extracting data, bringing it over into GIS, but how can we get that more efficient and more smoother? So that's something that we're also going to be looking into. And then last is actually our, I shouldn't say last, but last for the presentation slide is going to be a 2024 GeoBIM pilot effort. So we already have a few models fully developed, and we're going to be looking at GeoBIM and using that as a way to bring our BIM design into the Esri environment. PTC actually has a very robust GIS system with a lot of information already delegated and organized there. So marrying these two together so that there's actually more potential for getting the information to the right people, but also so you can start making the right decisions and planning effectively, coming to that full project life cycle that Butch was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. So with that, that is all we have for today. progress of the program overall. Our hopes is next year to actually hopefully be presenting on the construction of some of these projects and some of the feedback that we've been getting. Design overall, I think, of the phase 2 of projects. Any questions?
I'd love to have a little bit of an expansion on the hash and how we actually interact with that. How is that generated? How is a designer, do I confirm what I'm sending? As a contractor, do I match what I'm supposed to?
This is my favorite conversation because we did a lot of testing on this and delved in deep. And probably my favorite aspect of this was by the end of the whole hash code investigation, our contracts admin from the construction side was describing what hash codes is to the rest of their organization. So the way the hash code is a hash can exist in every file. So no matter what, if it's a Word document, DGN, DWG, there are a number of different tools out there completely free. Microsoft has ones that you can download onto your computer called Microsoft Hash Tool. You can go onto a web browser, and there's different types of hashes. So I believe it's SHA-256 is the most encrypted hash that our federal government uses. That code has so many characters. We did talk to PTC's IT group, and they said, we really don't need that type of lockdown on our files. You can do it shorter. So they were comfortable using the MD5 method. And so that, what it is you actually can upload a file and you generate a hash function. So you click next, that hash function gives that hash code overall. And that will be that hash code that you use for that date and quote-unquote date and timestamp replacement. So we've been using that, we've tested it, sending the file via email, uploading to the cloud, downloading from the cloud, going multiple methods without changing anything. The hash function stays the same. If I open up the file, make one movement, or hit save, anytime you save the file or make any type of change into that data itself, that hash function changes. And it's not like it changes with like one value at the end that you really have to look for. It's a completely different number that looks very different.
Does that include for DGN content when you're in that live database? I get out as long as I don't touch anything and I close back out, the hash remains?
So you need to actually turn off your automatic save. Because what happens with data file integrity, if you have that automatic save function on, and there's two aspects of this. So the big reason for the data verification is we want the contractors, we said, using the information. It would be lovely if they opened the models up in that software and took out quantities or whatever they need. However, so they might be doing things, and we really want to compare at the end. Send us your file in case you're like, hey, there's an issue over here with XYZ with this model. Can we compare this file to verify, yes, we're looking at the same file that was actually in the bid package or that we have on our records. So it is something to note. If you do save the file, it actually changes that data integrity overall. It's a really good question.
Nobody's going to ask, can I follow up with that? Have you experienced any adverse effects of that? I find toggling that off in ORD plays very poorly with feature definitions and bringing them in the file.
So I have not toggled it off in ORD. And so this is the other thing. Typically, I think if you're opening up the file and doing stuff within it, or you're like just looking at information overall, if you know you're not changing anything, then yes, exactly. So if you actually are trying to change or take stuff out, you're probably doing save as. I imagine the contractors on their end have some type of thing not to tamper with the original files of anything. So that's, yes, but I actually keep it on as well.
Okay.
And that process is not generated by the consultant until they do their final submission.
Right. It's not every week that you're doing that.
Yeah. And I think a big aspect of this is because of the methodology that the Turnpike Commission has with their ABS bidding site. If we hosted a project on ProjectWise, I can lock down the data and use this, but that's not actually how projects are bid or opening welcome everyone into ProjectWise. So this was the way to actually verify that data.
Did you have a budget percentage for a slush fund to help the designers work on these projects with a kind of a less defined scope?
Yeah, we did on all these projects. we gave the designers a little more free rein than we typically would. Now that was within constraints, so they weren't allowed to. We were in control pretty much, working with Symmetry and their groups, to help them through the process. So we did schedule meetings, bi-weekly meetings with these teams to see what issues you have and if you need help with something, and try to guide them through the process. We didn't see on this bridge project that it was crazy. I mean, the designer was pretty comfortable using Revit, and they did a really good job with it. So it wasn't too bad.
And I also am going to add something with the designers overall on these projects. When they're doing the digital delivery, we have an initial conversation, talk about standards, everything, getting them their buy-in. No one buys in. I'm going to be honest, no one buys in initially. They're excited, but they're also very apprehensive overall. And what has been really impressive, even people, I think that was Nick's first time using the Revit software, which is incredible. And it was also, we've had some people who are brand new to ORD. By the time they get to 60, 75%, they come around and they're like, wow, we really love this process, or we want this to be the model. We want our models to be the legal document and kind of approach overall, which I think has been, I was actually not anticipating that, which has been very great and rewarding. But don't get me wrong, they will still tell me what the flaws are of each program and software. So there are always things that can be improved, but overall, like, we're working with them to make sure that it's a successful project on this first few.
We take a lot of what we've learned. We meet with PennDOT monthly. We have a one-on-one with Alan Melly and Scott McMasters and Mark and myself. Just have a one-on-one where we can be real frank and honest about things and get information. And we also attend all the PennDOT district champion, their internal meetings, to listen in and find out what their pain points and stuff. And we take any of those lessons learned and try to feed them in. And then if there's anything we come up with, we'll feed it back to PennDOT. So, we're not a DOT. We have a friendly rivalry with PennDOT. I think we're better, but that's just a little bit of bias on my part. But I mean, it's a really good working partnership with them, and I think going forward, both of us, assisting each other in ways we can, will really help Pennsylvania, kind of stay in the forefront of digital delivery.
This bridge work, like actually all these projects were slated to be FIA models. We were in the DRM for that bridge project, and they were talking about models that the designer felt really comfortable with. And I said, could we bid these? And my project manager looked at me like I had three heads, but he did come over later and said, I talked to the designers after the meeting, and they're comfortable with it. So, it just came around that way. So that's what we're doing. So it seems like our designers are really good.
But one of the anomaly though is the facility project, or the maintenance facility, that you figure, this building facilities, BIM, Revit, way advanced compared to RD and Civil 3D. And BIM, that's not going to be a model as a legal document. They're more nervous than the bridge consultant was, and which actually surprised me. But the model is going to be provided as a career information number, because the model will provide the contractor the ability to take those Revit files for the maintenance facility and generate the shop drawings and save a lot of time and money. That versus doing it from scratch and stuff. So they're still going to be part of the bid package, just for information.
Being software agnostic, how often are you doing release updates for your specifications?
We're looking at quarterly, but it can depend on the advancements. That's, we're kind of quarterly now, last time was quarterly, but we're looking at advancements in the software.
Yeah, it's quarterly right now just because we've learned so much from these phase 1 projects through design. As you can see, some of them are finally wrapping up design, and we want to take lessons learned and actually update our standards as much as possible. So it's been every 3 months actually releasing, and it's probably slowly getting more and more, looking at 6 months and then probably a yearly release.
And then jumping version to version, that Autodesk releases a new version every year. Okay. And there's no way logistically we can stay on top of that. Plus, we have to look at the cost benefit. If we jump, is it worth it? And we're probably
projects is there's a project execution plan, a BIM execution plan. So they state which version of the standards they're using at the beginning of project. And we actually have language there that says they're not allowed to upgrade without consulting us first. So they have to consult PTC, and then with time and depending on how far along the project is, we discuss if it's worth upgrading or not. So there is a track record with these different projects. It'd be unrealistic to have a designer update every 3 months for all of these different projects.
Anything else? We really appreciate it. Thanks for doing it.
Looks like you're getting ready for a presentation. So we're at least leave you that.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind sending me
Not at all.
email or something.
Yes.
I'd love to hear more. You met Steve 2 years ago.
Yes.
He went to Open tonight.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd love to hear more about Compass. Seeing
I'm going to be around tomorrow.
Yeah.
Presenting at 11.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that. Oh, you know what? I won't be. My flight's at like 4.
Yeah.
Is your presentation on?
Not yet, but Drew,
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll just see. But certainly we could also get together and do a virtual thing. And that's the best thing. We just do something. We can bring whoever, we want. Yeah. Why don't I do that? I'll send you an email right now with my contact info. And then,
Sorry, my time fits.
yeah, give me a shout next week and we'll set something up.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Okay, all right, Drew, thanks. Yeah, safe travels.
You guys do that. Yeah.